Okay, let's just do a quick reminder, guys. If you need another piece of paper, so that in case you need to show work or anything, that's fine. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through this real quick. If I have two lines and they meet once, how many solutions do they have? One solution. Is this independent, dependent, or inconsistent? This is independent. Are you going to remember that? Okay, so what's another option? Okay, so they're the same line. So what is that? They have infinite solutions because they're always equal to each other. And then you said they're what? Dependent. Okay, so as far as the independent and dependent, one of them has infinite solutions, one of them has one solution. They both have solutions. The one that doesn't have solutions is the what? Parallel lines. Okay, so if they're parallel but have a different y-intercept, then we would say there's how many solutions? 0 solutions, and we call them inconsistent. Are you going to have to remember these words? No, I'll say determine which one is independent, dependent, and inconsistent, but you have to remember which one goes with which, okay? Just remember that independent and dependent have answers. Independent, they meet once and then they carry on. Dependent, they're beside each other the whole time, they can't split up, and then this one is inconsistent, they just never intersect, okay? Alright, so as far as number 1, classify each system and identify the number of solutions. What do I need to do? What's the easiest way to know whether or not they're independent, dependent, or inconsistent? Well, remember, these have different what? They do have different y-intercepts, they don't have to, but they have a different slope. If my slope is different, then they're independent with one solution. Do these have the same slope? Do they have the same y-intercept? So they're the same y-intercept and slope. What about these? Same slope, different y-intercept. Okay. So how do I know the slope and the y-intercept of these? I need to solve for y. Okay, so on the first one, I've got a negative 2x plus 12 equals a 3y. How do I solve for y? How do you get y by itself, guys? Divide it by 3? Okay, so I've got a negative 2/3 x plus 4 equals y, so that's that one. What do I need to do to solve for y on the second one? I need to solve for y on the second equation, right? What do we gotta do? Y is positive. I'd like to leave it positive, so I need to get rid of maybe the 2x and the 24. So I'm going to subtract 24 and 2x. So I've got 3y equals a negative 2x minus 24. Now what do I want to do? Divide by 3. So I get y equals a negative 2/3 x minus 8. So what do you notice about these two? They have the same slope, but a different y-intercept, making them what? Okay, so because they're parallel lines with different y-intercepts, we would say they have 0 solutions and they are inconsistent. Okay? So that is my answer. Okay, solve each system by graphing. Let me go ahead and write that down. Okay, so number 3, guys, how do I solve this by graphing? Guys, how am I going to graph these two lines? Solve for y? So if I've got 18 equals a negative 8x minus 6y, what do you want to do to solve for y? Okay, move the x over, so I've got 8x plus 18 equals a negative 6y. If I add 8x to both sides. Okay, now how do I solve for y? Divide by negative 6. Okay, so y equals, what's 18 divided by negative 6? Negative 3. 8 and 6, do they simplify? To what? 4 and 3, so I'm going to make it a negative 4/3 x. Okay, now normally I write it like this, so I'll just go ahead and say negative 4/3 x minus 3. So that's my first equation. Now I want to graph the other one, right? Or solve the other one. So now I've got negative y plus x equals a negative 4. Okay, so how do I solve that one for y? What do I need to do? Minus x. So negative y equals a negative x minus 4. How do I get rid of that negative? Divide by negative 1. When you divide by negative, doesn't it just change the signs? So I'm just going to make all of these positives. So y equals x plus 4. Okay, what am I going to do with those two equations? Graph them. Okay, so on this one, let's go with that one. The y-intercept is negative 3, so I'm going to go down to negative 3 and put a dot. The slope is a negative 4/3, so normally I would go down 4 and to the right 3, but I don't have enough room. So I'm going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the left 3. I don't have enough room to do another one, so I might as well just connect them. Okay. Now I need to graph this one. What's the y-intercept? 4, and the slope is 1, so that means up 1 over 1 or down 1 to the left 1. So, am I done if I just graph that and call it good? No, you actually have to tell me what the solution is. What is the solution? Well, the solution is that actual point, so you need to write that point down. What is that coordinate point? Negative 3, 1. Okay. That's a lot of points. There'd probably be a point in finding this equation, a point in finding that equation, a point in graphing each, and then a point in saying what the answer is. So we're looking at probably at 5 points right there. Okay, let's talk about 5. Now 5, I didn't give you a graph, which means I want you to do it on the calculator. So, I want to find the intersection of these two lines. So I'm going to type in 1 divided by 2x minus 3 and negative x plus 3. Okay. I'm going to go zoom 6 just so I have a normal window. So graphing y1, graphing y2. I see the intersection, I need to find the intersection, so what do? Second, I want to calculate the intersection, right? So second trace, or second calc. Number 5, I press enter. Now it says first curve. Am I on one of the lines? The little blinky dude? Yeah, he's on that one. So I'm just going to press enter. He moves to the second one. I press enter. I don't care to guess, so I press enter again. And I get the answer is the point for negative 1. So all I got to do is write down for negative 1. Okay, so first, I'm going to graph the equations in y1 and y2. I pressed zoom 6 just to make sure I had a good window. And then I went to what to calculate the intersections? Second trace, which is calc. And I went to number 5, right? How many times did I press enter? And there you go. Okay. And then I found my answer. Okay, what about number 7? Use your calculator to solve the system by graphing. Is it the same thing? Guys? It's just that what do I not have? I don't have y by itself. I don't have a slope-intercept form. So I'm going to go ahead and solve that. I've got 19x minus y equals a negative 3. What do I want to do with that 19x? Subtract it over? So I've got negative y equals a negative 19x minus 3. Divide by a negative 1? Or just change all the signs, right? So y equals a positive 19x plus 3. Okay. So that'll be y1. Now what about this one? How do I get y by itself on that one? Move the x over. So y equals a negative x minus 17. And that'll be y2. So now what do I do with those two equations? Put them in. Okay. So in y1, I'm going to have, it doesn't matter which one goes in y1, which one goes in y2, but 19x plus 3 and negative x minus 17. Okay, I want to second calculate my intersection. But I can't see it. Okay, so what if I can't see the intersection? What do I need to do? What do you mean zoom? Zoom out? Okay, can I see the intersection now? Okay, so second calculate number 5. Enter, enter, enter. Negative 1, negative 16. So, my answer is negative 1, negative 16. Okay, so how do you feel about the graphing portion? There's going to be a couple where you have to graph by hand. There's going to be a couple where you have to solve on calculator. Okay, let's talk about number 9, substitution. Do you remember what we did for substitution? I just reminded you of it yesterday, hopefully. What do we got to do? Good, so whatever y equals, replace y in the second equation with that. Okay, so I've got 3x plus 4, but instead of y, I'm going to plug in a negative 3x plus 5, because that's what y equals in the second equation. Okay, so what do I need to do? Distribute the 4. So 3x. A 4 times a negative 3x? Negative 12x. A 4 times a 5? 20, and then equals 2. So what are you going to do? Combine like terms and solve? What's 3x minus 12x? Negative 9x. What are you going to do with that 20? So you get negative 18. And you get x equals what? 2. Now if x equals 2, remember that I'm trying to solve a system which is a coordinate point. So I know so far it's 2 comma y, but I got to find the y value. So how do I find the y value? Plug what in? 2. So if x equals 2, then that means y equals a negative 3 times 2 plus 5. Negative 6 plus 5 is, and there you go. Okay. How do you feel about your ability to do that on your own? You just have to get one of the variables by itself, right? And substitute it in. So like this one right here, notice how none of the variables are by themselves already? So you have a choice, and I don't really care which choice you make. You want to solve for one of the variables in one of the equations. Can I go ahead and suggest that we, well, Actually, you could divide this whole equation by 2 because they're all even, but it's okay if you don't. It looks like this one has an x by itself and a y by itself, meaning they only have a coefficient of 1. So those would be easiest to solve for. So which one do you want to solve for, x or y? Curtis, head up. Which one do you want to solve for, x or y? Guys, focus. Okay, she said x, so let's solve for x. So if I've got x plus y equals a negative 5 and I want to solve for x, then how do I get x by itself? Subtract y. So x equals a negative y minus 5. Okay, what am I going to do with negative y minus 5? Plug it in for x in that equation. Because that is x, right? So negative 8 times negative y minus 5 minus 2y equals 22. Okay, what are you going to do? Distribute my negative 8. So I've got a positive 8y. I've got a positive 40 minus 2y equals 22. Alright, what are you going to do? Combine like terms. What is 8y and negative 2y? 6y plus 40 equals 22. How am I going to solve for 6y? Subtract 40 over, and I get 6y equals a negative 18. And then divide by 6, and I get y equals a negative 3. Am I done? Nope, I've only got the y value. So how do I find the x value? Good, so if y equals a negative 3, then that means x equals a negative 3 minus 5. What is a negative 3? What's a 3 minus 5? And so there's my answer. Okay, let's talk about elimination. What do I need to do for elimination? You want to cancel out variables, right? So in adding equations, I want to be able to cancel out variables. So I look at the x's and I look at the y's. What do you notice about 4x and negative 4x? If I add the two equations, the x's cancel out. That's good. I don't have to do anything other than just add the two equations. So if I add the two equations, the x's cancel out. What's 3y plus a negative 1y? 2y equals 6 plus 6? 12. I want to solve for y, so what do? Divide by 2. So what does y equal? 6. But I need to solve for x, so I take one of the equations and plug in what? Okay, y equals 6. Which one do you want to do, top equation or bottom equation? Okay. So negative 4x minus y, which is 6, equals 6. So all I did was plug that in right there for y. So what do I do to get rid of this negative 6? Add it. So negative 4x equals 12. And then what, guys? Divide by. So x equals a negative 3. Okay, so how do I write my final answer? Good, I gotta write it as a coordinate point, negative 3, 6. Okay, let's look at this number 15. Right now, it doesn't look like any of them are easy to solve for. But what do I notice about 2, 8, and 16? What are they all divisible by? So I'm going to divide this whole equation by 2. So what's a negative 2 divided by 2? A negative 1. So I've got a negative 1x. What's a negative 8 divided by 2? A negative 4y. What's 16 divided by 2? 8. Okay. If you are inclined, you could have divided by -2 and made that positive, positive, and negative, but it's fine if you don't. If I've got to do that, I'm looking at the second equation. Can I also divide the second equation by a number? 7 goes in all of them, right? So I'm going to divide this whole equation by 7 and see what I get there. I've got a -7 divided by 7, so negative x. -28 divided by 7, -4. And 21 divided by 7, 3. Okay, substitution means we need to solve for one variable and plug it into the other. So what do you want to solve for? The only reason, well, if you look at y, what does it have in front of it? It has a 4. If it has a coefficient of 4, that means I would have to divide everything by 4. And that wouldn't be as easy as just dividing by a -1, right? So I think I'm going to solve for x because it only has a -1 in the front. So how do I get negative x by itself? Well, first I'm going to add 4y. So I've got -1x equals 4y plus 8. How do I get rid of a negative? Just change all the signs or divide by a -1. Either way, you get a -4y and a -8. Okay. What am I going to do with x equals a -4y minus 8? Plug it in where? Okay. So I've got a negative. -4y minus 8 minus 4y equals 3. What do I do with this negative out in the front? Distribute it? So if I distribute my negative, what's a negative 4y? What's a negative 8? Minus 4y equals 3. What happens to the 4y's? Is it true that 8 equals 3? So what does that mean? Could I have seen that when I saw this right here? I've got a -1x minus 4y equals 8 and a -1x minus 4y equals 3. If I had noticed that as a relationship, the slope would be the same, but then the y-intercepts would be different, then I could have said that solution. But if I don't, then I just work it out and I still get it. What if you got 8 equals 8? Infinite solutions, good. Okay, so we've only got 4 more to do together. Well, actually, we've only got 1, 2, 3, we have 4. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to solve using matrices, yeah? For your work, guys, here's what I need to see. I need to see the matrix that you're going to plug in your calculator. So, as far as what I'm going to write down, what are the numbers I put in? -3 and 3. And then what do I put here? 1, 4, -16. Okay. So do you remember what we have to put in front of the matrix when we type it in? Okay, so I've got to go to second matrix. Okay, so second matrix. I need to go over to what? I need to go over to math. And then I go up or down to RREF. Okay, so I press enter, and I get RREF on my screen, right? Now, how do I put my matrix in there? I heard it. Alpha what? Alpha zoom. So if I go alpha zoom, is this a 3x4 that we're typing in? It's a what? Yeah, 2 rows, 3 columns, so it's a 2x3. So I'm going to go over to 2, press enter, down to 3, press enter, press OK. And I just type in my numbers. So -3, -3, 3. Go to the right, 1, 4, -16. I press enter, and it tells me my answer. Do I write down this matrix? No, I write it as a coordinate point. So what would I write? Okay, so parentheses 4 comma negative 5, close parentheses. There's your answer. You don't have to. Okay, so let's talk about 19. Shall we just type it in? Second matrix, over to math, RREF, alpha, zoom, it's a 2 by 3. What numbers are going to type in? Guys, what numbers do I plug in? Negative 1, 1, 3, 7, and I press enter and I get, oof, what do I get? Okay, let's talk about this. First I need to write down my matrix that I type in. Negative 1, 1, 3, 7, negative 21. What I get as an answer has 1, negative 1, negative 3, and 0, 0, 0. If the bottom line does not have a 1 in it, it just has these, well, what does that mean? 0x plus 0y equals 0. Right. It says 0x plus 0y equals 0. Doesn't 0 equal 0? So if I get on the bottom line, I don't care what the top line says, but if the bottom line says 0, 0, 0, then that means 0 equals 0. That's a check, infinite solutions. Right, so if you get something in the first row and then 0, 0, some number like say 7, then 0 does not equal 7. That would be no solution. Okay, so that's something different. No, it would be just 2 zeros. Okay? Okay. Alright, now I need to do 21. Is everything in an order? X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z? So I just need to type it in, right? First I'm going to write down the matrix, then I'm going to enter. What numbers? Guys, when I'm looking at your review to make sure that you've done all the work, I'm going to be looking for them in these matrices, so you better write them down. Negative 7, negative 4, negative 1, and negative 20. Negative 1, negative 4, and 4, negative 1, and okay. So I write that matrix down. And then I type it in. So, where do I go? Tell me. Second? Second what? Matrix. Over to? Over to what? Math. Oh, we're doing it without me. RREF. Is this a 2 by 3? No, it's a what? 3 by 4. So alpha zoom. Okay. Negative 7, negative 4, negative 1, negative 20, negative 1, negative 4, 1, negative 12, 4, 7, negative 1, 24. Okay, I got a bunch of decimals, which makes me think maybe my answer's wrong, but then I scroll over. What do you notice on the bottom row? You have 4 zeros in a row, so you get, if you get blah, 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 and then 4 zeros, sorry, 0, 0, 0, 0, that means 0 equals 0. What does that mean? Infinite solutions. Okay? So let's do 23. Are these in order? Yeah, they're fine. RST, RST, T. So let's write down what matrix we would type in. What goes in first? Negative 2, 3, negative 3, negative 14. 2, 3, negative 2, and negative 8. Are there any R's on the third one? No, so I write in what? If there's no R, I put in a 0. Is there an S? Is there a T? 1 and then 2, right? Okay, so let's type it in. Second matrix, math, RREF, alpha zoom, it is a 3 by 4, negative 2, 3, negative 3, negative 14, 2, 3, negative 2, negative 8, 0, 0, 1, and 2. I got an answer. So I would write it as what? And there you go. Okay? Alright, so those are the odds.